context where you understand Islamization not from books, but from your heart. Feel there is a problem. There is a real problem in the Ummah. A real problem. But we need to solve it. That's why Islamization is here. We talk about intellectual crisis. The crisis is in the inability. We are unable to produce new knowledge based on the Islamic model, because the Islamic model is outside of the mainstream. The mainstream, after the independence of most Muslim countries, we adopted the Western model of governance, of democracy, of knowledge, we have the dichotomy between the secular knowledge and the Islamic knowledge. Don't look at, here in Malaysia is a very different case. But look at Algeria, look at Morocco, look at many other Muslim countries. This split between the revealed and the aql, between the secular knowledge and the Islamic knowledge is a big problem. Is a big problem. Means we are splitting the human soul, the human self. We are splitting ourselves. Are you following?
Yes.
Very good. This is the introduction. So,
you only have 25 minutes left.
Oh no.
Brothers and sisters, this is my introduction to you. So I think you understand the big problem with us today when we talk about Islamization of knowledge. So our brothers who come and brought this idea of Islamization of knowledge, they are saying to the people that we have an intellectual problem. We wanted to enable our people, students, scholars, ulama, to become more dynamic in ijtihad, but the ijtihad which is based on values and the power of aqal, the power of our abilities as human. So, brothers and sisters, to do this, how to do this? Yeah, we can say now we understand, we diagnose the problem. Our problem is that in the last 1 century or more, we are just consuming knowledge, consumers of knowledge. And our people of Islamization, including Prof. Al-Attas, Abu Sulaiman, Al-Faruqi, and many, many others, they differ in their views here and there, ta'ala mas'ala. But in the end, the gist of it is we need to revive the intellectual dynamism of the Ummah. The intellectual dynamism of the Ummah means we have to educate people, nurture people to be able to produce knowledge based on the Islamic worldview, based on the Islamic theory of knowledge, which says that knowledge or the source of knowledge is multi, is not just single. And number 2, it says that values and ethics are very important in the production, dissemination, and application of knowledge. Are you following or not? Because if you don't have values, you can produce nuclear power or chemical power, or you can do genetic engineering. But who limits you? Who guides you? If you are in a model which is rational, which is positivistic, which is materialistic, means all your life, all your decisions, activities, actions will refer back. I will talk to you a little bit about what's happening in economics. As Brother Shahran said, I am from economics. I did my bachelor in finance long time ago. So, brothers and sisters, today we have ended up in our universities, in our body of knowledge, in our economy, in our politics, in our society, in all this, we are actually, whether we like it or not, we are using the products of the Western civilization. So we agreed about this, and then comes this process of Islamization of knowledge, saying, okay, we will take from the West what is the best, but we have to build our capacity and ability to produce new knowledge based on the Islamic worldview. In simple terms, this is Islamization of knowledge. Is to enable the Ummah, the people, the scholars, the ulama, to produce knowledge based on the Islamic worldview. This doesn't mean we don't take anything from the West. No, that's not what we are talking about here. So, now, you have to be also realistic and practical. Because if you want, this is a Western model of knowledge. More than 200 years of civilizational dynamism. It's not that easy just to go and say, okay, remove this and do this and do. No. That's why our Islamization, I hear a lot of critique to Islamization of knowledge. Islamization of knowledge is a movement, like 50 years? 40 years? I think we need 300 years. Or more. Or less. Or we can shorten to build a new model of knowledge that will become in the mainstream of our education system. Whether from primary to secondary to university, we, inshallah, hopefully, in the next 15, 20, 30 years, people, because of this movement of Islamization and others, we produce more products, more solutions, then people can see that Islamic worldview, that Islamic model of knowledge can give the alternative. We can see today, for example, I give you an example, in the 90s when people were talking about Islamic economics, Islamizing economics, many people, they don't look at them at all. There were very few. Like, you have a flood coming this way, and as I said, you are coming this way. Nobody looks at you, because that's the dominating models and structures of knowledge in our educational systems. There is a split. So we create a mind, a personality, which is also here and there. Then this personality which we create and produce, they work in management, in administration, in the society. We continue the split. So, alhamdulillah, in the last 30 years or 40 years of struggle, of facing, of resistance. Now, when you talk about Islamic economics and finance, today, it's not like 40 years ago. Because 40 years ago, when we talk about Islamic economics, I remember in 1989, I was writing in Algeria, in our journals about economy, Islamic economy, theory of zakat. Only the Muslim few audience, they look at it. But the mainstream, the secular, the student, the professors, they don't look at this at all. And I was, at that time, I remember, I talk about how Islamic economics is based on the theory of a man who is a Khalifa, and this man, like Khalifa, he has the aql, the ruh, the soul, the behavior, he has the mission in life, not to hurt. I was talking about how wealth is expanding because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the Razzaq, and His rizq is open, and His rahmah is open. So I cannot based on the theory of, at that time, talking about the resources are very few, to create the Islamic. But this didn't happen in Algeria. Or for your information, in Morocco and Algeria, just recently, last year, the Morocco parliament passed the bill of Islamic Bank. Imagine, those are the countries, Arab countries, for example, that supposed to really stand for our model. Until today. Why? Because, as I said in the beginning, we have the secular trends which are in power. And that's why I said Islamization is not in the mainstream structure of education. So that's what we are trying to do. But here, it becomes moving towards becoming in the mainstream. When you become in the mainstream, means you are part and parcel of the educational system already. All the people will benefit from those things. Brothers and sisters, let me show you now, based on all these introductions, how Islamization will help us to move forward in the future to come up with our model of knowledge, our products, our ideas, our solutions, our alternatives. This is our aim. 20 years from now, 30 years from now, the next generations, if we do well now, the next generation will be great to take it to another level. So, brothers and sisters, I want you to follow me. I think Brother Shahran is also looking at his watch again. After he said I got 25 minutes, now I have 15 only. Okay? So, brothers and sisters, I want you just to go with me very quickly here. Let me see here. I will come back to this one. I would like just to take you here. Very simple Brothers and sisters, when we talk, before I come to this one, I just show you this Islamization of knowledge. In very simple terms, you know, brothers, many scholars working in Islamization, they have their own definition of Islamization. I'm trying to get one operational definition which can be used by many of us. Okay, but let's say if you read the books of Al-Attas and his views on Islamization, desecularization of knowledge, and so on and so on, this is, you need to study it in that model, in that context. But here we are trying to bring an operational kind of a definition where we can see Islamization of knowledge as a process that we can all do and contribute to. Look at this. Very simple. I can say Islamization of knowledge is actually, it might start with a process of evaluating knowledge. Which knowledge we should evaluate? You remember I told you in the beginning about the Western knowledge, which is dominating the whole body of knowledge in this world today. And that knowledge of the West is based on 5 or 6 big theories, you know, materialism, positivism, rationalism, existentialism, empiricism, and all these big ideas. Then comes postmodernism. We need to evaluate knowledge, that knowledge in economics or in social science or in human science, evaluate it based on what? Based on Islamic worldview and values. It means, alhamdulillah, we got a model. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us hidayah, give us a model. So brothers and sisters, we evaluate knowledge, but evaluating knowledge is not enough. You cannot just evaluate, and there is nothing next. What we do, we need actually the second process to produce knowledge. I'm not sure whether Islamization of knowledge today is in the process of producing real knowledge now, based on our model, or still we are working on that. Maybe in certain areas like economics and finance, we have products, we have maybe now textbooks, means we are moving there. Let's say take psychology. Are we producing knowledge in psychology? What I saw, there are many books talking about psychology, Islamic psychology, psychology from Islamic perspective, but they are all at that level, not yet at the process of developing, because for you to start developing knowledge based on Islam or Islamic model of knowledge, you need to have the ability to identify the philosophy of knowledge, the objective of knowledge, and to develop methods. The methods of inquiry within that model. Let's say in psychology, there are a lot of methods, a lot of procedures. Not necessarily we Islamize the simple and the operational things. But for you to start producing knowledge, you should have that model, worldview, you have the philosophy, you have the objective, you have the methods, you have the theories, and then you have the applications. You come to applications. Applications means we are talking about cases, about solutions, about products. So that's how we look at the process of Islamization of knowledge. No longer we are talking about just theory, just ideas, just values. But look at this. Evaluating knowledge, reproducing knowledge, and applying knowledge. I think I saw in your program, your brothers and sisters next few days, they will talk to you about in economics, what has been happening. Then you will see the processes, evaluating, producing, implementing knowledge based on the Islamic framework and worldview and values. So, when it comes to implementing or application of knowledge, we are talking about real products, real solutions. No more talking about we evaluate. You remember in the beginning when I told you that in Islamization of knowledge, you need to be critical. You have to learn the critical thinking. Because you need to evaluate models, knowledge, ideas, theories. We need our students to learn the techniques, the skills of critical thinking. What is good we take, what is not we leave. Brothers and sisters, this is how we look at the Islamization. And this idea of Islamization of knowledge, we need to, particularly we are in universities and in education, we cannot do Islamization, we cannot succeed in the future if all these things don't become part of the curriculum, part of the environment of thinking. You know, environment. Our environment in our university, in our school, in our place. The environment where there is critical thinking, where there is independent thinking, where there is creative thinking, where there is encouragement to thinking, where there is the hadith of Rasul says, من اجتهد وأصاب فله أجران وَمَنْ اجْتَهَدَ وَأَخْطَأَ فَلَهُ أَجْرٌ. When Rasul said, if you do ijtihad, you get it wrong, right, you get 2 rewards. You get it wrong, you get 1 reward. In some of our models, if you do ijtihad, whether right or wrong, means you are destructive. That's the thinking, that's the mindset. Don't ask questions. Don't criticize. You just follow blindly. That's why we lost the dynamism of ijtihad, because in the last 3-4 centuries, where they call it the gate of ijtihad closed, means no more. For you to understand Islamization of knowledge, we need to talk about the Islamizer. We need to talk about the body of knowledge to be Islamized. And when we talk about Islamization, means the philosophy, the worldview, the objective, the theories of knowledge, the applications. We need to talk about institutions that are managing, governing Islam, like university, like IIIT, like centers of research, like we need more and more and more everywhere in the Muslim world. So I think, alhamdulillah, we are the pioneer and people are learning from us. So we need to deepen this. When we talk about Islamization also, we talk about the products, the solutions and practical aspects of Islamization. I just give the example because here you are Islamic banking, Islamic insurance, zakat, and all these types of thinking or products. We talk about creating environment and ecosystem for Islamization, the processes, the procedures, the policies. Like in UIA, I think we have a lot of these things. We can package them better and introduce them to people, to other universities, so that we create a great movement of Islamization. We talk about the worldview. Worldview is one aspect of Islamizing knowledge. So, brothers and sisters, let me go back. I just focus on this worldview here. I think later on you can check these definitions of this great ulama. But here I wanted to show you this. This is for your information, this PowerPoint is already in your computer somewhere. You take it for free. I want to pay me also can. Okay? So brothers and sisters, look at this model, very simple, summarizing how we look at knowledge. So brothers and sisters, it's here. The Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is in our theory, in our model. We put Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the source of ilmu. He gives us the revealed knowledge of Quran. He gives us the created knowledge, which is the universe. This universe is full of knowledge and laws and patterns. You know what physics is doing or natural science? It's just discovering these laws. The difference between us and them, they discover them based on positivism, based on scientific methodology, which is more materialistic, more. But we want to discover them based on balanced, revealed theory, which sees behind the pattern or the law or relativism, sees the greatness of God, sees things. So, brothers and sisters, we have also the created man, another source of knowledge. We have, when we talk about this model here, we have the wahyu, the guidance, the hidayah. We have al-kawn, the universe. We have man, and we have also life. We are living in this life, and this life is a span of time, and God and the Quran and our worldview says how you have to make use of it. And this life in this world here is actually a temporary life. There is a big life over there, which is the akhirah, which is the great place. Actually, that's the thing that make our theory of knowledge very different. So, brothers and sisters, in the end there, the Islamic worldview provides knowledge about all this. These are our sources. And then the classification of knowledge also, we divide it in our history to aqli and naqli and other things. Okay? Let's move forward now after you see this, because I don't want to enter into what worldview tells you in terms of how we look at man, how we look at economy, how we look at All is there in Islamic economics. And that's the important thing that we are bringing to the contemporary theory of knowledge. Let's move down here, take you very quickly. Now, look at this here. This one just I put it in very simple terms. For now, I'm not talking about Islamization in general, but I think we are talking here in IIUM, for example, as we moved the last 30 years or more in this philosophy, in this mission, and we have done, alhamdulillah, we created and we removed a lot of resistance against the idea of Islamization. And brothers and sisters, some of our goals under this Islamization of knowledge is to develop an Islamic model of knowledge based on Islamic worldview and values. And number two, to produce new knowledge products based on Islamic worldview. So we cannot just, these are the two, let's say that's our goals, that's what we wanted to achieve. It takes long time to reach this level where it becomes the mainstream, it becomes the culture, it becomes part and parcel of nurturing and educating people. So, some of our strategic objective, we need to provide the methods, the applications. We cannot just now, you are a student of economics, master and PhD, we come and tell you, go and write thesis based on Islamization. Go and do this, bring a product based. But how do you do it? What are the methods? What are the procedures? What are the approaches? What are the examples? What are the cases? So we are working on this. It took a long time, but we are working, and that's another priority for us. So we need to enable the universities and researchers like yourself to exercise ijtihad, to produce knowledge. But you cannot exercise ijtihad. Just you wake up in the morning, Monday, you become mujtahid. It cannot. Yeah. That's why we need to, it's a very tiresome work, because we took, this group of Islamization of knowledge took the most difficult mission to do. Those who are the reformists who go for politics, the mas'ala. They go, they do movement, they do haraka, they do this, they mobilize people and this. Those who do social, they go do some activities, community engagement and all. But it comes to us, we need to use the brain. We need to produce knowledge. We need to change the mind. We need to remove the intellectual crisis. We need to bring new methods. That's why you are the pioneer. You are the leading. Those who are doing Islamization are really taking a great mission for this ummah. Brothers and sisters, we need to come up with integrated curriculum, develop Islamic environment of learning. I mentioned a few of it. Encourage community to come up with Islamic products and so on and so forth. Now, some of the plans you come up with textbooks, you train the Islamizers, like they are training you now. But when we train the Islamizers, this is the beginning. We have beginner, intermediate, advanced. Maybe if you are in the advanced class, we can talk about the models, the application and all this. So, brothers and sisters, let me finish quickly here. Now, you are from Kulliyyah of Economics and Management here. Brothers and sisters, you know, for you in economics and management, you don't talk a lot about concepts, but you manage. You get the management, the governance, how you manage things, how we do things. So, brothers and sisters, Islamization also is a process, like any other process that we do. If you have a process, to deal with it, look at this. You need to, this model of ISO. Just we developed a little bit this model, and that's what we are doing actually. As a university, we have inputs, we have processes, and we have outputs, and we have the feedback, and we moved the last 30 years trying to do what is Islamization of knowledge. You know, like you put the inputs here, the student, the staff, the researchers, the policies, you put the outputs here, you come up with research, you come up with knowledge, and so on and so forth. Brothers and sisters, to conclude, when we talk about Islamization of knowledge, as I said in the beginning, this is a very important idea. It's not just theoretical, but it is trying to reform the intellectual dynamism, the mind and personality of the ummah and the people. And as long as we are unable to produce Islamizers who are able to do ijtihad, to create knowledge, to apply knowledge, we will still really in a situation where we cannot really explain the theory of Islamization, because if you don't have products, you don't have solutions, people will always ask you. And you can see it, I think our scholars, our professors here, when they go and present, I presented one a long time ago, I think in 2004, I presented one lecture in Holland, attended by many sociologists, very big people. So I was talking about value-based knowledge, and I tried to relate it to the Islamic knowledge. So almost the hall is full of people and scholars. Few are Islamic Muslim, but the rest all are very surprised what I'm talking about. Not in the mainstream. Plus Islamophobia, plus this, plus terrorism, plus Daesh, plus this. They will not. So, but when you come up with a product, when you come up with an alternative in economy, in psychology, in this and this, then your mission will become more easier. Brothers and sisters, there is a lot of work to do towards Islamization. Alhamdulillah, we have now, after 40 years or more, we have a literature. We have books, we have scholars, even we have some textbooks we can base on. Imagine those people who started before and they don't have all these things and they want to teach Islamization to people, how to relate, how to give cases and so on and so forth. I think, I stress again, we need to learn critical thinking. We need to learn, you work for yourself. Don't wait. Don't wait for the school only or the teacher inside your lecture to help you learn critical thinking. You learn for yourself. How do you learn for yourself? I give you example. Just example. Long time ago, let's say what? 35 years ago. I was infected. You know, infected means talking about the clinic. I was infected with the shaitan of reading. Infected with the shaitan of reading. My big brother is a scholar. He told me, you want to be a scholar, you have to read. Read. So I was infected. I was reading everywhere. When I was young, like you in the university, when we wait in the stations, I read books. Inside the bus, which takes around 40 people, there were 100 people at that time inside the bus. I don't even find a place. I'm just down there, but I was reading. Even one time, my brother, I was just 19 years old at that time. My brother, when they come and found me reading the book of Imam al-Ghazali, Ma'arij al-Quddas, a book which even the scholars, the philosophers cannot understand. Then he told me, what are you doing? I told him, you told me read. So I am reading. Brothers and sisters, reading, you create a scholar of yourself. We are just facilitating for you. We are your professor, your doctor, we guide you, we help you. But you create in yourself a scholar. The starting point is read more. Read a lot, discuss a lot, learn. Don't wait for the university to teach you critical thinking. Go and Google and get the workshops. There are millions of programs and skills and this inside Google to teach you how to be critical. And then you refer to your professor. You have to create that sense of, I want to change. Brothers and sisters, this is not the introduction, but the khatima. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much, our dear brother, Professor.